Hello everybody and welcome to CoD Gaming. Today's video I'm going to be touching on some of the settings that a lot of times people just don't realize are so important, and they're almost a secret to the community. So I'm going to touch on all the ones that I know about, and hopefully these help you out. And a lot of times these impact your gameplay significantly when you go into a match. You just don't realize it. I'm going to touch on each one, tell you why you should change the settings to these, and actually help yourself get a little bit better at the game before even loading in. If at any point in the video you do find any of the tips helpful, or you do enjoy the video in any way, do remember to hit that like button. And if you are new to the channel, just kind of give you a heads up, I do tons of Call of Duty content related to in-game updates, overall news, best class setups, different tips and tricks like this video, as well as subscriber breakdowns. So if any of that sounds interesting, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. When you bump over to your settings tab, there's a bunch of options. The one where there's probably the most top secret option is that graphic one, so stick around for that. But we're going to get into the button layout and flip orientation. The reason you might want to flip your orientation with your triggers is so that you can fire with R1 instead of R2, and essentially makes your firing with the weapon a button instead of a trigger. The advantage with that is with the semi-autos, you can just spam it, versus it being a trigger, there's a little bit more of a delay. Some of these higher end controllers, they're built in with a trigger stop, and that's what you're simulating with this process of converting it from disabled to enabled. As far as button layout goes, you can actually switch it to tactical, which is a very popular controller layout. And the advantage of this is you can actually go prone, crouch with the R3, which is the right analog stick. And when you do that, you're still able to keep your thumb on the right analog stick and keep your accuracy, which is a huge advantage when you want to drop shot. The next thing that has any kind of importance is the sensitivity, and you're going to want to find your perfect sensitivity. I did a complete sensitivity guide on how to find that perfect sensitivity. You can probably find your sensitivity in under a couple minutes, probably under 5 minutes, guaranteed you're going to have the best sensitivity you've ever had. And go ahead and check that out in the description. I am going to link that because I believe that's probably the best possible way to get there. You're going to want to turn vibration off, because when you actually get into gunfights and your gun vibrates and you get hit with the nades and all this vibrations going on, it's just more of a distraction than anything. So you're going to want to turn that off so that you don't have that issue and just focus on accuracy. Aim assist, you want that on. You never want to turn that off. And some people will say, hey, turn it off, practice like that. But that's not practicing the real thing. You want to practice the real thing. Make sure you have aim assist enabled on both rotation and slowdown. If you're unfamiliar with how that works, I'm going to link another video in the description. That's the top 5 things to improve your accuracy, which is an amazing video that breaks that down along with many other accuracy type things. Next up is the super top secret one that pretty much a lot of people just don't realize it's a big deal just because they don't explain it well enough when you see it. So safe area, you can see my margins are as tight as possible. What I'm going to do is stretch them as far as possible. And then I'm going to jump into a match. I'm going to kind of fast forward this process so it looks a little bit quicker. But you're going to see the difference right here. So let's go ahead and skip to the loaded in match. So the main thing I want you to look at is how far that 3 is from the mini map, the score at the bottom left, and then all the stuff on the right with all your score streaks and ammo and all that type of stuff. See, the distance is pretty far. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and shrink that small as possible. And that's going to tighten everything up. And that's what it doesn't tell you here. It doesn't tell you that it's just modifying your HUD to make it a little bit more adjusted and easier to read. So what you're going to see right here is as soon as I go back into the match, you're going to see how tight that is now. So now it's not at the all the way at the edges of the corners. It's actually a lot tighter, which can make it significantly easier to pay attention to what's going on your screen, because 99% of the time your eyes are bouncing back and forth between the minimap and the center, minimap and the center. A lot of times that's hard for people to do, especially when people play on bigger screens. Just magnifies that issue. Also with motion blur, you're going to want to make sure that's disabled, just because it does cause issue with loading and different things like that, so you get consistent frames and all that type of stuff. Right here, turn your music off. The music in this game actually serves no purpose other than to be a distraction. Obviously at the end of a round, it'll make it all intensified, and it just causes more of a distraction, puts a little bit more pressure on the scenario. So I would just recommend turning it off completely, especially when you want to have the audio cues. It's just more distracting than anything. So definitely recommend taking that off. On this page, you could also turn up that hit feedback, and that's every time you get a hit marker, it's just gonna be a little bit louder. So definitely you can turn that up if you want to make it a little bit easier to hear. And then here's another thing that just people typically don't do. If you tend to lag all over the screen, if you have issues all with connection based, you need to have a wired connection. It'll lead to more consistent gameplay. It's not perfect because you're still gonna be playing on the servers with different people that aren't wired. So by having a hardwire Ethernet cable connected directly to your console, you're gonna have a much more consistent gameplay experience. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and remember to hit that like button. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comment section below to see which tip you thought was most helpful that you had no clue about. Also, if you did enjoy the content at all and you'd like to stay subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button with notifications on. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.